this is quite a complex model, and the more I look at it, the more I am quite impressed at just simply how Bachmann managed to get it down to the price that they did. A big hello to you, hope I find you well. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you up here to Weir Yard, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Bachmann breakdown cranes that came out a couple of years ago. And certainly at the time, I know one of the things that put me off buying one was that they were around the price of the top of the range locomotives, and that seemed quite expensive for what ostensibly appeared to be just an item of rolling stock. But today we've got the opportunity to have a look at not one but two of these, and the reason for this is that TMC has a sale on, and one of the things that really caught my eye was these cranes at around 50% off the original RRP. They've got two different liveries available, the GWR grey and the Southern Railway grey, and actually side by side they look fairly similar, and certainly it's a similar base model, but there are a number of different detail differences. And one of the things that actually surprised me when I got to have a good close look at these is that perhaps Bachmann should have made an awful lot more of the incredibly fine mechanism that allows these cranes to actually work. There's a wind-up mechanism in the back, and you can watch the pistons, the cogs, the gears and the drums, and even all of the rigging as well work just like the prototype. And at 50% off, that's under £125, they really caught my eye. So I bought a Southern Railway one, and then off the back of that, TMC offered to send over the Great Western livery one so I could get a good look at both of the liveries, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. But before we go on, do please remember to like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so to this video. It's a really great way to help the channel grow. And this video today comes with the support of Trainomatic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support comes from...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest logo.
But I have to say that these were models that did catch my eye first time around, and with this unique opportunity to pick them up at a great bargain price, let's take a look. And oh no, me bargains! Let's see if they're worth getting. The standout announcement from Bachmann a few years ago was the Ransoms and Rapier 45-ton steam breakdown crane, and it was produced in a number of different liveries, and it started to get quite difficult to get hold of them. But if you're wondering why you can see the edges of my work area, it's because I've had to wind my rostrum camera all the way up just to stand a chance of fitting this box into shot, and it doesn't quite fit. It is truly massive, and the reason I've got this is because TMC, the model centre, have got a sale on at the moment, and they've got two different liveries of these Ransoms and Rapier 45-ton steam breakdown cranes at pretty much, I think it's about 50% off RRP, and that actually translates down to a few pennies under £125 for the breakdown crane. And when you consider that some people were spending substantially north of £200 for one of these when they came out, this is an incredible price. And with TMC, because if you spend more than £100 it's post-free in the UK, that means that for certainly for UK buyers, the price you see is the price you pay. Now, not content with just the one, they've actually got two in the sale at the same price, just under £125. So I'm just going to put that one down to one side. It's two different liveries. And before anybody asks, the BR ones did sell out very, very quickly, right back at the start of these being released. So all that's left is the Southern Railway Grey Ransoms and Rapier, catalogue number 38-800. And the second one, which TMC actually very, very kindly sent over to enable me to do this review after I bought the Southern Railway one. And this is 38-801, and this is in the GWR black livery. Although it has to be said that when you compare them side by side, they're actually, to my eyes, certainly in the box, they're about the same colour. So I'm going to start with the Southern one. Because I have actually had this out of the box already, so just familiarising myself with it. And you may have seen it very briefly rock up in a pickups video. Actually, I must say as well, on the back we've got a little bit of detail about the breakdown cranes. It shows that all of the different regions actually had these. And they did also get sent abroad. The LNER ones were sent to Iran, which was then Persia, to help with the war effort. 2 replacements then were ordered for the LNER. And these differed from the original 6, having outside steam chests above the cylinders and a different pattern of match wagons. It's interesting to note that these were quite long-lasting. Both Southern Railway cranes, the 2 LNER cranes, and 3 of the GWR cranes survived into preservation, although one of the Southern ones was cut up in April 2010, and the remaining 6 can be found at various preserved railways across the UK, with several still operational, and occasionally you get to see them at use, doing the job that they were designed for, doing things like bridge girder replacements or lifting boilers on and off the chassis of locomotives that are partway through repair work. Now, it's all laid out on its side in the box, and we get this 2-part plastic insert, which I'm just going to separate out the lid, and that gives us access to the full crane. Inside the box we get the 2 match wagons, which as far as I can tell are identical, although actually yes, they are completely identical, and these go at either end of the crane itself. They're part of the steadying mechanism that allow the crane to spread its load a little bit when it's actually in use. And you can see that it's got this very markedly different arrangement to kind of rigidly lock it to the 8-wheel crane, and it spreads that load over an additional 8 wheels. And you can imagine that these would be lifting a huge amount of weight, and also going to and from work sites. It also helps keep the axle loading down. We also get this bespoke match wagon. This particular one here, we've got the SR branding on it. But one of the things that struck me about these is that if you were to remove the SR branding, then this would actually be perfectly good for an awful lot of people to be fairly regionless crane, use it with BR stock, use it with Big 4 stock, or even use it as part of, say, if you've got an industrial layout. You could imagine that it's not beyond the realms of possibilities that a company could, say, buy one of these for using at a heavy engineering works or a steel works. So there's a lot of opportunity to give yourself a good excuse to have one of these on your layout. The match wagon is handed. We've got these storage lockers at one end, and then we've got the cradle that has a degree of sideways slide, which is actually practical for the entire rig. Getting around corners, that is quite important. And then we've got the area where the hook would sit with the boom, the jib, actually resting on there, and then we've got the standard buffers and drawbar gear on both ends. The crane itself is a pretty big piece of kit, and it comes with the jib all the way up in the box, and this is really just a space thing. If it was all the way down, the box would have to be longer, and it just makes a much better use of the space available. This has a full circulating motion, so it can turn through 360 degrees, And the entire mechanism on this does work. And it's something that you can pose this on your layout to do a vast variety of different things. We've got the chimney here, which is obviously down for transit, but when working at the worksite, giving the extra draw, it just hinges up and gives that extra height, which gives a better draw on the fire. And interestingly enough, these were pretty much the last steam-powered devices on British railways, outlasting all of the steam locomotives well on into the 1970s. As you can see, the grey is a pretty dark utilitarian grey. It's, not a standout colour, and actually I quite like it. And as I said before, there's not really that much that screams Southern Railway on this, and it wouldn't be too difficult to repurpose these for either LNER or GWR, although the GWR one is also available, and you could imagine that it wouldn't take much to actually re-letter this up as a BR version, and I'd guess that they didn't get repainted into the black hugely quickly, so if you're modelling the transition period, say 1948 to 50, then you could imagine that these would still be absolutely fine. We also get some etched metal plates. This is something that Bachmann does do a lot, and it's a nice touch. These are actually printed on the crane itself, so you don't have to change these if you don't want to, but we do have etched plates just for that extra authenticity, should you so desire. And then we've got some additional detail parts, including the spreader bar, which is when you're lifting something, if you don't want the wires that you're using to crush, say, an item of coaching stock or a locomotive, you'd use this spreader bar to actually be able to spread the pull so it doesn't crush the thing that's being lifted up. And we've also got some buffer beam drawbar detail and ladder there, and some of the brake rigging too. And then you'll also find this little piece here with a magnet on one end and a keyed other end, and it's knurled so that you can get a good grip. And this is for the mechanism to be able to operate the crane. We also get full instructions, so don't worry, everything is here. And it's actually quite an extensive booklet here, which has managed to stick in to the box. You can tell I haven't had this bit out. There you go. I don't know how that's got stuck underneath there. And this is quite extensive. It shows you how to actually set the whole rig up. And it says, please note, when transporting your crane in a train, please ensure the jib is fully lowered. It's obviously very important, otherwise you will take out all sorts of things. And it gives you some information on the spreader beam and also on the operation of this. And this is quite extensive. We've also got, it would appear, the outriggers, and these would be used on location to, again, help to stabilize the crane. The most important part of this is obviously the mechanism. So looking on the rear of the crane, you'll see these two kind of like hatches. Now these, cleverly enough, have a metal piece inside, so you can see that it just gets pulled out by the magnet on the end of the little knurled handle. And then this has a square end that locks in, and you can then turn this and the whole jib is lowered. And what's amazing about this is all of that rope work in there is fully functional. So you can actually watch all those ropes going round. Now I'm just going to put that piece back in. It's quite easy. Just put it into place and you can kind of just wipe it off the magnet. Let's go for the other one. This other one controls the actual crane hook, And what I like about this is you can see there the full mechanism turns over everything. And it does lead me to wonder whether the original plan with these was to make them DCC controllable. And I just love that, just to watch that doing its thing. I just find it incredible that all of that mechanism is going round as we lower that hook. So I'm going to just put the plug back in there, this hatch, and this one has a little notch to get it the right way round. I'm just going to look over the rest of this crane. Now, one of the other areas that this is able to be posed is with these outriggers, and I'm just going to grab hold of that, and you can see that these outriggers can be just slid out, and there's 4 of these, 1 in each corner. So there you can see that you'd have the outriggers for posing this in situ, and I also like the fact that we've got this gauge here which also is supposed to show how far up or down the actual jib is, and this would be a ready reference to the operator. Although what's interesting is that it looks like that's managed to get assembled back to front on this example. It's not a big deal, but certainly this is quite a complex model, and the more I look at it, the more I am quite impressed at just simply how Bachmann managed to get it down to the price that they did. And one thing's for certain, that we're just not going to see this model be reintroduced into the Bachmann range at the price that we saw before. That this is pretty much becoming unaffordable, and that's why at just under £125 I think that this is an absolute steal. And when you compare it to the other cranes on the market, like the venerable old Hornby 001 of old, it's just incredible that all of this mechanism does go round. We've also got the correctly hinged roof hatch here as well. I'm not going to force that. But as the jib goes all the way up nearly to the vertical, then this opens to allow passage for the cables through into the drum at the rear. We've also got fully detailed backhead inside the cab of the crane. There is a huge amount of detail. Really, Bachmann pulled out all of the stops on this item, including fully functional rigging there. And as you saw, all of those gears are fully functional as well as to scale. It's just really an incredible piece of equipment. One of the things I do want to do is to wind the jib all the way down. So I'm just going to spend a few moments to wind this down. You can then start to assemble the full setup, and these just clip in. Actually, I'm quite impressed how easy it is to clip these in. They've really thought about the design. And the final part is the match truck, which is quite easy to just manipulate the jib onto the cradle on the top, and the hook just goes into that well at the end, and then your full crane is ready to go. Looking next to the GWR version, and let's take a look at any differences between the two cranes. And again, we get the same additional extras. I haven't opened these so you can see everything's in there, plus the etched plates, and these again include the correct GWR plates. You can just see them there, but all of those are already printed onto the breakdown crane. And just looking between the two, there are a lot of little details in terms of the paint finish. So on the GWR one, we've got this all picked out in white, which looks to be just a dark grey all over. On the Southern Railway one, again, we've got some of these wheels, and these do appear to be able to rotate, which is it's quite interesting actually. They've really gone all in with these. Those don't appear to actually do anything, but certainly the fact that they do rotate is really quite nice. And again, we've got the same on the other relieving bogie. And the detail on these really is incredible because they've got a kind of skeleton frame and you can see all of the different rigging, everything. The couplings, by the way, are slimline tension locks, and so if you really want to, you can change the couplings between the relieving bogies, the match truck, and indeed between the whole crane itself and the rest of your train and locomotive fleet. So perfectly able to be fitted with KDs or anything else that you so desire. Again, the match truck delivery on this is very similar to the southern one, just some different embellishments in terms of the white finish. But I'm guessing that this was actually a Ransoms and Rapier works finish. So this is the colour that they came from the factory in. Again, all of that detail. We've got really free running wheels, metal disc wheels, and the couplings are in NEM pockets and fitted from the factory with slimline tension locks. The bulk of the crane here itself is presented with the jib in the upper position, simply because that's the best way to get it to fit in the box. We've got those extendable outriggers too. Again, great for if you're wanting to pose these, if you want a cameo scene on your layout with the crane when you're not actually running it from location to location, then this means that you can fit this together. And it's got great play value, but I would warn you that this is not a toy, this is a precision model, and it is quite delicate in places. Certainly this mechanism, I wouldn't want to be winding this up and down really frequently, and certainly not lifting heavy loads with the hook on the end of the jib, because I suspect that, that it will not be so happy doing that. The Great Western version has a much shorter chimney here. It's got the same mechanism for hooking and looping it up, but clearly the Great Western felt that it didn't need the extra draft. And on the rear of this, the Ransoms and Rapier is not picked out in white, a little bit more austere. Although if we go to the other side, you can see there's some really quite nice printing on there with some caution instructions, really nice. And you can see that this one, the inclination meter has been assembled the correct way round and is all where it should be. So again, I'm going to actually just use the same thing as came with the other crane. So let's see, we're going to wind the jib down, and you can see that going down as I rotate it. And I think that this is a model that if it does reappear, we're going to be seeing it with fully DCC controlled, maybe even wireless. I could imagine this would be a prime candidate for DCC Bluetooth control, and just have an interface on your smartphone or your iPad type device to actually just be able to control all of these different functions. But again, it comes down to price, and the upsum of that is don't expect these to ever reappear at this amazing £125 price. When it came to running, these models performed really well here on Weir Yard. I had a pair of them going round behind a 16XX pannier, and that shunting locomotive handled the pair plus a few extra wagons quite well, managing the gradients on the main line, and there was no sign of issues over any of the point work that they traversed. All in all, these are a great model, and I think that the only reason I didn't get one when they first came out was simply the price. They were expensive at the time, and when you compared them to being about the cost of a top-of-the-range locomotive, I think a lot of people may have thought twice about them. But when you get up close to them, as I have done in this video, you can see that there is an awful lot that goes into them. These are precision models, and it's a joy to watch all of the rigging and the gear work inside the cabs of these work when you're turning the screws at the back to make the jib go up and down and to raise and lower the hook. I think if there's any complaint that I would have, it's that Bachmann maybe didn't quite blow their trumpet as hard as they should have when they first came out, and these models are worth every bit of the original RRP. But times move on, and we're just not going to see these return at anything like their original RRP. And in this opportunity to get these two liveried versions at around 50% off RRP, this will never be repeated. So if you missed out like me on the first round release of these, this opportunity to mop up the leftovers of the production run really can't afford to be missed. And at a shade under £125, and because it's free postage over £100, this is the price you pay from TMC with no extras. These are an opportunity not to be missed. Well, I hope you really enjoyed today's video and found it informative as well, and a big thank you to TMC, who very kindly sent over the Great Western liveried version of this crane so that I have something to compare to the Southern Railway version that I bought as a mystery shopper a couple of weeks ago, and you may have seen in one of the pickups videos. And I'd love to hear what you thought about this. What were your views on what you saw today? Or maybe this is a model that you already have. What are your real-world experiences of operating them? Or perhaps, like me, you kind of never quite were able to justify the price when they first came out and missed out that time around, and maybe looking at these at £125 post-free and thinking, actually, I think I'm going to grab one. And like I said in the video, I don't think that these are ever going to appear this cheap again. So it really is the end of the line for models at this price. And that's just because of inflation, increasing costs of production, and the fact that there is so much fidelity in these models. You can imagine that these actually probably take a lot more assembling than even a locomotive would. Don't forget that you can also check us out over on Patreon and help support the channel to keep making the videos that you want to see. We've got a number of different tiers of rewards to suit everybody, and it's a great way to help the channel keep turning out the video content that you enjoy watching. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so. It's the best way to keep up to date, to show a little love for the channel, and make sure that when new content comes out, you are the first to know about it. You can also browse our full merchandise store, and that's down underneath the video, where you can get your Billy's Replacement t-shirts, hoodies, also Gronk It Up and My Railway, My Rules, not forgetting Terrier Fest 2. It's great to grab a mug, a t-shirt, a hoodie, or even just a die-cut sticker. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself, happy modelling, bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model 00 gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com, and don't miss out on your latest logo.
I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, but a special thanks go out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky107107, George Botterini, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, NI Railways 4000 class, Ian Coulson, Alan Dickerson, Eddie Popper, Karen Nichol, Medwin Williams, Crossways Point Junction, 3B Rail, Jennifer Horton, Michael Rose, Trains with Nick, and Simon Snow. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.